Theirs from the association's members.
We bought it from IMR Kenya. They had, I think, walikuwa na ofisi. Wajua ukienda kwa ofisi unaangalia huko kwa ukuta unakuta kuna picha hata president, kuna hizo certificates za licensing kutoka Kanjo. Atena unawakuta on the ground. For 10 years we've been here.
But the East African Portland Cement says the buyers did not do the due diligence, as the case about the land had been caught since 2014, and the court found out that the society that sold the land had a fake title deed.
Especially kwa mzee kama mimi. Niona mimi ni mzee. Sasa nimetumia ile sendi yangu ya mwisho. Nyumba hii nimejenga hapa imegharimu over 3 million. Nimetumia ile sendi ya mwisho. Nikijua ndio mahali pangu pa kukaa nikingojea siku zangu.
As residents of this area try to salvage the little they can from the debris and the remains of their demolished houses, they are calling on the government to be able to help them find out those who are behind this scheme, because they are insisting they bought the land legally. They want also to see a way where they can be able to recover their money. Willie Lusige, KTN News at the River, Mavoko constituency in the county of Machakos.
Now, the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Shakahola has confirmed that there is no morgue or graves as Pastor Ezekiel's New Life Prayer Center and Church in Mavueni, Kilifi County. This comes after Pastor Ezekiel asked the Dunston Mungatana-led committee to visit the church to help with their investigations. Miriam Angel has more.
The Senate Ad Hoc Committee was on Monday in Mavueni, Kilifi County, following a request by Pastor Ezekiel Odero. The committee is investigating the circumstances leading to the deaths of followers of controversial Good News International Church Pastor Paul Mackenzie. The committee visited Pastor Ezekiel's TV and radio studio where he broadcasts his sermons.
Tumeambiwa kuna hili, kuna mochari. Twende tukaangalie hiyo mochari. Kuna makaburi, twende tukaangalie makaburi. Tunataka kujua uhusiano na huyu ambaye tunamshuku ni namna gani, na tumeona hapa hata restaurant. Kwa hivyo mambo yale mengine tulikuwa tuambia watu waombe paka wafe hayapo hapa.
While distancing himself from Paul Mackenzie, Pastor Ezekiel Odero said it was important to have the Senate committee visit his church to have a conclusive investigation. Last week, Pastor Ezekiel told the Ad Hoc Committee that he only got to hear about the Shakahola massacres in the news like other Kenyans.
Tulialika Senate ili yale yote ambao Senate itakuja kuandika na kusema yawe ni yale ambao wamesikia kwa kuambiwa na pia yale ambao pia wameona. Kwa hivyo yote ambayo wameangalia na wamechunguza watayaweka wazi kwa nchi nzima, kwa raia nzima, kwa raia wote, kila mmoja akaweze kujua ukweli.
Addressing the press during the inspection, Mungatana said the committee would continue with other scheduled visits to verify issues raised in the investigation, adding that the visits were crucial in preparing a full report on the Shakahola massacre.
Sisi tunaandika vile tunaona. Yeye si mshukiwa katika hii issue. Kamati yetu tunachukua ushahidi, na yeyote ambaye ametajwa wanakuwa persons of interest.
On taming rogue religious leaders, Pastor Odero said pastors should be given certificates of qualification, adding that pastors should also be under a mentorship program for 2 or 3 years. Meanwhile, the Senate said they are expecting Paul Mackenzie and his lawyer to appear before them on Wednesday, failure to which disciplinary action will be taken against them.
Tumeongea na Bwana Makasembo, wakili wa Mackenzie, na alisema kwamba wamepata zile summons, kwa hivyo wanajipanga. So sisi kesho tutangojea saa 4, alafu tuna imani ya kwamba watapata nafasi wafike.
The committee is set to release its report by Thursday next week. Miriam Angel, KTN News.
Now, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga has refuted claims that he was he has endorsed Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to fly the Azimio presidential flag for the 2027 presidential race, saying his praise for Kalonzo was taken out of context as it is too soon to make such a landmark decision. In a statement issued by his spokesperson, Dennis Onyango, the former premier says the decision was the prerogative of the members of the Azimio coalition to make a year to the next election. The statement comes a day after Odinga heaped praises on Kalonzo for being a steadfast, loyal and trusted friend whom he will support. KTN's political affairs reporter Emmanuel Toh with that story.
Sisi tutasimama kidete na ndugu Kalonzo Musyoka.
It is a statement that has continued to receive varied interpretations from members in and out of the opposition, as many read an early endorsement of Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka as the opposition's candidate for the 2027 presidential polls. However, in a quick rejoinder, Odinga, through his spokesperson Dennis Onyango, clarified that he may have been misunderstood, clarifying that his praise for Kalonzo Musyoka for standing with him in 3 successive elections was not an endorsement of the Wiper party boss as the Azimio presidential candidate in 2027. The statement adding that rather, the praise was an acknowledgement and appreciation of Kalonzo's past deeds that are in public domain. This statement adds, quote, Mr. Odinga views Azimio as a coalition of equals in which every leader stands a fair and equal chance to emerge as the presidential candidate in 2027, depending on each leader's relationship with the party membership. That candidate will, however, not be named until a year or just months to the 2027 election. Odinga also assured his supporters that he plans to remain very active in party and national politics all the way to 2027, and that his word of praise for Kalonzo Musyoka were not intended to mean he had or intends to quit active politics.
Miongoni wetu hapa mtu atasimama. Sawa. Yeye anafikiria ni mrefu zaidi. Tumeonyesha ati yeye hajui. Sawa.
Yeyote ambaye atasimama wakati huo mwingine will have a walkover, a walk in the park. Kenyans are fed up.
During an exclusive interview with KTN News early this year, Kalonzo said he was willing to take up the mantle from Odinga if his party and the coalition supported him.
My candidature, therefore, would depend on the consultations. And I can tell you, as Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, the Buffalo soldier, I think I'll be bigger than the buffalo. Yeah. When that comes and my party, that time comes, and my party decides to give me the mantle, then I'll fight like I've never fought before.
Political pundits argue that Kalonzo's loyalty and support for Odinga in the 2013, 2017 and 2022 general polls has put him as the favorite in the succession line as the heir apparent for Odinga, who has unsuccessfully run for the top office 5 times.
Kwa roho safi, Raila Amolo Odinga tosha.
Odinga has, however, expressed optimism with Kalonzo's candidature, saying the Wiper leader would whitewash President Ruto in a free and fair election.
Kwa sababu sasa kama yeye is not running, si mimi nitashindana na Kalonzo. Huyu Kalonzo kweli mkiona na
However, Odinga's political craftsmanship may have informed his clarification, as he intends to keep his cards close to his chest and keep many guessing on his next move. Emmanuel Toh, KTN News, Nairobi.
Now, China has pledged to support its companies operating in Kenya to implement infrastructure projects including roads, railway, air transport and ICT. Li Shi, a senior member of the Chinese Communist Party Political Bureau, said his party or his country identifies with President William Ruto's bottom-up economic transformation agenda. He said the model seeks to spur economic growth from the bottom of the country's social pyramid. Among the projects China is keen to invest in include road construction, expansion of a standard gauge railway, modernization of the country's airports and ICT sector. President Ruto told the Chinese delegation that Kenya was creating a conducive environment for business and invited Chinese investors to invest in what he described as monumental opportunities in various sectors of the economy. President Ruto will also attend the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation in Beijing that begins today. Back home, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has said the government will expand the community health promoters program to reach all the households in the country to enhance earlier detection of diseases. Speaking at Kapkatet Stadium, Kericho County, when he opened the Universal Health Coverage pre-conference, the Deputy President said the 100,000 community health promoters have been fully kitted and will visit homes for promotive and preventive healthcare. Gachagua said the Community Health Promoters Program is a timely intervention by the government in the health sector, adding that the fruits of the program will be felt in every household in the country.
The benefit muhimu ya hiyo social health authority ni kwamba wewe mwananchi wa chini ulikuwa unalipa shilingi 500 kila mwezi, sasa utakuwa unalipa shilingi 300. Kwa hii social health authority, wewe mwananchi ulikuwa unakuja hospitali unaambiwa hii imekuwa covered na NHIF na hii haijakuwa covered. Hiyo maneno sasa tumefunga kila kitu, so long as uko na social health authority itaweza kuchunga.
Universal healthcare coverage that we have learned today will speak to the lives of so many people. Hawa watu wenye wako nyumbani who cannot afford to come to big hospitals will be handled right at the village level. And it is out of this that we want to celebrate the Kenya Kwanza government for their commitment to ensure that we get right on health. Because if we don't get right on health, then there will be no wealth in the county.
Tumebadilisha mfumo wa afya na matibabu kuirudisha pale nyumbani. Hiyo ni kusema ya kwamba tumepata wale watu ya kujitolea, community health promoters, zaidi ya 100,000 wamenunuliwa vifaa na serikali.
Now, Public Service Performance and Service Delivery Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria says he is not bothered by the location of his office as reports of office space tussle after the reshuffle abound. Kuria also says those working in public service should transform from being office holders to service deliverers across the country. He was speaking after taking over from Aisha Juma, announced he will transform the department by following the footsteps of former President-elect Mwai Kibaki.
National Youth Service has propagated 35 million tree seedling under the tree growers
of portfolios that was carried out that was announced by His Excellency the President. On the issue of offices, I think the communication from government was clear that this ministry was supposed to be headquartered at the old railway headquarters. The Prime Cabinet Secretary has requested that I leave that space to him, and as I said, there's a fellow of mine called Reverend Maina pale OTC. I'm happy to be his neighbor. I can work from anywhere. Mimi ni mtu wa kiwanja na mimi ni mtu wa street.
My brother Waziri again, rest assured. Rest assured. I live with you a team of dedicated, devoted and competent officers led by PS Gathesha, with whom I am convinced that you will receive utmost support.
Now, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, His Excellency Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, had a one-day official visit to Juba, South Sudan. The Prime Cabinet Secretary met with His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, the President of the Republic of South Sudan, and conveyed a special message from President William Ruto. The two leaders further discussed potential areas of shared interest within the framework of East African Community. The Prime CS has since visited Burundi, Rwanda, and Uganda for a similar mission.
We shall respect the processes of the East African community, and where the leadership is coming within the horizon, not too far away, very close, within the framework of the East African community. The mantle is going to land on the laps of His Excellency Salva Kiir. We as a country and as a member of the East African community will give our unwavering support to the process and ensure that we give the support that is desired so that the East African community can grow. The issue of Sudan, we strongly believe that His Excellency Salva Kiir has got broad experience that will play a critical role in trying to moderate the tensions and the conflict in Sudan so that we can have peace. The country of South Sudan is now carrying a heavy burden of those who are fleeing from the conflict and are seeking refuge and comfort in this country.
Now, the government, through the National Counter-terrorism Center, has commenced public participation across the country to review the national strategy that was adopted back in 2016. Led by the head of prevention at the National Counter-terrorism Center in Jenga, Miri, the team is set to bring up new strategies and update those adopted 6 years ago to ensure the government is able to handle all situations arising from recruitment and possible attacks by terrorists. According to Jenga, this exercise will be carried out in the 8 regions across the country as stakeholders from various sectors contribute towards review of the document. Nyanza Region Commissioner Flora Mora had hinted that there has been laxity in the region in terms of countering violent extremism, but said they will be on high alert.
Thank you.
Yes, good morning.
This strategy is supposed to be a comprehensive mechanism of making sure that we are able to handle all situations from radicalization, from recruitment, and the possible planning for attacks by the violent extremists. And therefore, this is a live document, and will definitely keep on changing.
We will be able to come with a more proactive strategy that will assist us more in prevention than countering violent extremism.
People in this part do not take the issues of violent extremism quite seriously, because in the past we have not had attacks in this region. But we are doing our best to educate people and to make sure that they take it seriously.
All right, I'll be remiss if I don't show you also what the dailies are holding this morning before you step out of the house. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the bold paper, The Standard. It's all about what has been happening in Mavoko at the river, land evictions, blood, sweat, lies. And you have your alama of Dukuduku there, or the ellipsis. And we have different script there, as the sub-headline will read. In spite of government promising peaceful resettlement and not forceful reclamation of public land, the event at Mavoko points to a change of mind and heart. What informs the recent orders? That is the burning question. And you have a story on page 4 and 5 of The Standard this morning. And previous pronouncements from the executive has been this, from President William Ruto: we want to make sure that we are an orderly human society that respects the rights of everybody, regardless of who they are and their financial status. We are equal in the eyes of the Constitution. And also, Deputy President saying the Ruto administration will have zero tolerance to inhumane eviction like it happened before. That will not happen in his term as the president. And of course, the headline will read differently from what the Deputy President had earlier stated regarding their stand as Kenya Kwanza administration regarding the evictions and also the raising down of the buildings as well. On the sidebar, what way for new UHC rollout plan? A probing question there. President William Ruto is set to launch the universal health coverage on Mashujaa Day. Efforts by former President Uhuru Kenyatta to roll out the program across all the 47 counties stalled despite UHC having been part of Jubilee's Big Four agenda. You have the story, excuse me, on page 8 of the Standard this morning. And also, Ruto inks Energy Telco's Memorandum of Understanding in China. That story continues on page 6. Of course, we already buy that. Also, development in Beijing with the Belt and Roads Initiative. The conference begins today. And looking at the teaser on top, single all his life but married in death at 76. Find out who that is. And that story is tucked on page 3 of the Standard. Bond pricing, banks could lose 208 billion shillings. And also you have Financial Standard coming in handy for you every Tuesday to inform you how firms are dealing with high labor costs. This is in light of the latest developments regarding the new taxes, especially with the NSSF and also the housing levy. French toast. Bohe ran riot in Paris. I hope I got it right, as pronouncement will go there. And that story continues on page 37 of the Standard this morning. This is how it looks. The Daily Nation. NMS ghost camp for Uhuru's allies. A defunct entity that took over some city hall functions, left behind 14 billion shillings unpaid bills. And some of the faces here have been summoned. Excuse me, allow me just to clear my flames here. Queried, House team calls for a forensic audit of Nairobi Metropolitan Services operations amid questions over tendering for city hospitals after Auditor General flagged several irregularities in her 2021-2022 report. This story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation this morning. We have been conned, theft, arrest, tears on day 4 of demolitions. This is what Wananchi are feeling down on the ground. Police make several arrests of people caught stealing building materials as homeowners battle to save their belongings from bulldozer out to crush their houses and dreams into rubble. On the side but there, the untold story of Kenya's forgotten fastest blind woman, Nancy Chelangat, has won 32 major athletic trophies, including gold at the Para Athletics Championships, but Kenya has done little to celebrate her. You can read all about her on page 38 of the Daily Nation. Ruto scouts for public-private China deals in China tour. President Ruto yesterday oversaw the signing of Memorandum of Understanding with the two Chinese entities, China Energy International Group and telecommunications giant Huawei. This is on the back page of the Daily Nation this morning. Magistrate frees 791 million shillings NYS. One scandal suspect, former NYS boss Nelson Githinji, former devolution PS Peter Mangiti, and businessman Ben Gethy, acquitted for lack of evidence. You have a story on page 3 of the Daily Nation this morning. Harambee Stars stand fancied Russia to 2-2 draw in Turkey friendly. And also, you have I didn't endorse Kalonzo's 2027 State House run. Raila now says this story continues on page 5. Of course, we already knew about that particular story. Looking at the Star, Raila U-turn on Kalonzo's 2027 State House bid is the splash here. Reversal of strategy. Opposition chief had hinted at backing Musyoka, and that is what the flag is reading here. Spokesperson says opposition candidate will be named months to 2027 contest. So you don't want to, of course, reveal what is your strategy very early. And you can see this is where the pronouncement was made during the 80th birthday of Raila's elder brother, Oburu Oginga. And we can see him, of course, consulting with Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka on Sunday. On the sidebar, another attempt to decriminalize suicide launched. You will no longer be arrested and charged for attempting to take your life if a fresh bid seeking to decriminalize suicide is approved. Nominated Senator Hamida Kibwana has fronted changes to the penal code to decriminalize the act that she attributes to the rising cases of mental health illness. And we might soon not enjoy coffee, melon, mangoes. This is because they're not pollinators, right? The production of coffee, cocoa, watermelon, and mango may be at risk due to the loss of insects, pollinators. This is according to a new study. The study showed a concerning trend of a combined pressures of climate changes and agricultural activities. This story continues on page 2 of the Star this morning. And also court set hefty bond terms for NIS officers in 166 theft cases. This is what the Star is holding this morning. And our land fraud left homeowners in tears. That is the story that you want to read inside the People Daily this morning. The victims of elaborate land grabbing involving elected leaders and rogue Ministry of Lands officials narrate how they were duped into buying cement farms land, all the time believing all the deals were clean because various government agencies were involved. The story continues on page 4 of the People Daily this morning. Also, we have an insert there. President Ruto in China wooing investors, and 22 billion shillings boost for women in business as well. You can read all about that on page 13 of the People Daily this morning. Mwosho mmoja wa Pastor Ezekiel is what the Taifa Leo is holding, and so maseneta wanaochunguza mauaji ya Shakahola wasema wameridhika kuwa hahusiki kwa vyovyote vile. Mweupe kama pamba watembelea kanisa lake lenye majengo ya kifahari Mavueni, Kilifi, na kufanya uchunguzi ili kudhibitisha ushahidi dhidi yake. And of course, read by that particular story as well. This is what is on the front page of Taifa Leo, and also the chair of the ad hoc committee, Danson Mungatana, is here. Will give us also fresh details right from Kilifi as well. Banks, they are tapping 54 billion shillings CBK support on liquidity crisis. Fund supports lenders hit by cash crisis. At least 3 banks breached liquidity ratios. That is a story you want to follow inside the Business Daily this morning. Also, Ruto scouts for public-private partnerships deals on China tour. Ruto scouts for public-private partnership deals on China tour is another story. Debt repayment eats up 67.5% of taxes in first quarter. That is a story that you want to read in the Business Daily as well this morning. All right, we shall be looking at what we have in the Citizen and also the Daily Monitor and the rest of the day publications as we continue past with the conversation. Our guest already here. We want to hear from them. Okongo Mogini. We have Danson Mungatana. We'll be joined later by also Dan Mazo. And we'll be joined by Owen Bayer as well, just to interrogate some of the issues that are in the public domain right now, just to hear from them. Good morning, Danson Mungatana. Good to see you.
Morning. How are you, Dibal?
Very well.
Thank you.
Just before you came, we just saw a soft copy of you.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you can see the hard copy. It's good to get now the fresh information from the hard copy itself, yes. Right from Kilifi. You can just highlight. Yes, you were visiting Pastor Ezekiel's premises.
Yes. On Friday, we had the DCI and Pastor Ezekiel who came to give evidence in the ad hoc committee. And in that sitting, the one for DCI was in camera, so it wasn't open to the public. But they requested that we visit to the DCI headquarters to show us some of the things that they were telling us practically. Pastor Ezekiel also, in his when his time came with his team, they also requested us to also make a visit to look at some of the things that had been raised during the submissions. So we went there. We went there expecting to see maybe some graveyards, because those allegations were made by some of the people who had come earlier on, that there are graves, there are people who are dying there. There's maybe hospital facility there. There is in fact a mortuary within the compound. So we went to visit all those areas. It's a pretty expansive place. We saw schools, we saw a restaurant, which again went on to sort of like
dispel that notion.
Dispel the notion that actually he is teaching something similar to what the main suspect in our investigation, Paul Mackenzie, was doing, that you shouldn't eat so that you can see Jesus. You starve to see Jesus. So it seems like they are actually not together on that. But when we went to the place that we were told it is a mortuary, Actually, it's a place where the distribution of the power source for the entire premise is located. We went also to look at the alleged graveyards. We also saw that it was a construction site, in fact. So some of the things, and then we had a lot of interactions with the leadership of the church, raised a number of things that we're going to put in our report for debate and hopefully adoption by the Senate. So we're closing. On Thursday, we will table the report, and then the rest of the House can debate. So that's just part of the normal duty. Or, you know, sometimes you need to visit the actual site so that you can verify and also have a feeling. Because they were saying that you've gone to Shakahola, which is in Kilifi County. You didn't come to see us, and we have been mentioned adversely. So we went to just verify all these things. At the end of it, the report will have to balance between the constitutional freedom of worship and public safety concerns, because we must answer the question of the people. Where was the government when 429 people died? So we as legislative arm of government, we have a responsibility, and we have asked those questions, and we have had the minister come, we have had all the security investigative,
agencies there.
Agencies who came and gave us, we have had a lot of people, normal wananchis also coming to give us their opinions. I think it has been pretty taxing. In a way, I'm looking forward to finishing this job. I think we have done the best we can, given the circumstances that we were given and the time period. So we trust God that the recommendations we will put will be adopted by Senate, and they will go on to help us manage the area of worship in a way that will not harm the constitutional right to freedom of worship, but it will also address public safety concerns. That is where we are.
All right. So is this also what you had sought for as an ad hoc committee, that you need and some extension?
It's true, because we were given 90 days. The 90 days lapsed, and the interest kept on growing. There were so many people who came, even as we are finishing. We have not finished the list of the people who have asked to see us and to give us information. So we have encouraged the public, our people in Kenya, to write to us, because the Senate doesn't stop working. So we have encouraged, and we have continued to receive a lot of written memoranda, and those views we are incorporating. For those who didn't get a chance to say what they had to say, and they had submitted their views in writing, we can assure them that we are reviewing those documents. Even right from here, we are going to continue with that work. Keep on sharpening the documentation and all the submissions we received, so that Wednesday we close, Thursday afternoon we table before the House.
All right. So I actually sat down and watched the entire committee meeting that you had with Pastor Ezekiel. Critical questions were raised by the members of the ad hoc committee.
Yes.
One issue that I think was not really broached very sufficiently, and it was asked maybe not directly, was the fact that who is he accountable to? Despite the fact that he has administrators in his church,
yes,
we have accountants who just to run the normal operations of the church as well. But who is he answerable to? Do we have any sort of board of, not really directors, but we can say even deacons or church elders that actually he is responsible to when it comes to the accounting also of the operations of the church?
Yes.
Do we have any audited accounts for his church as well?
Yes.
And those affairs, so that you can actually trail what is really happening.
You see, even not just him, but many other churches.
Many other churches, yeah.
The question of good corporate governance practices has been brought up with many submissions coming from even very well-established churches. And the issue of money, how money comes. You remember that one of the questions you are asking is, could there be money laundering in this church? So there are so many issues around corporate governance that have come up. If you remember well, he talked about being under Bishop Muiru, who was like his spiritual father. That is for him. But Bishop Muiru is also under an umbrella body. So the way I think in terms of accountability, it is like there is an umbrella body, there is a spiritual father, and here are my things. If you want to see everything I know, he knows. Everything I do, he knows. So this is the structure of accountability, and you heard him. He said he doesn't own anything. Everything is owned by the church. Those are some of the things I think we need to look at. Are we going to have, individuals just coming up and doing their things? And particularly the question of the doctrinal teachings. Are we going to leave it just open, people to interpret the Bible or any other holy book in the way they want? Those are the things that I think the committee is going to grapple with and come with recommendations, because some of the interpretations may be harmful to the public. Those are the things we want to deal with the law.
Right. So I wondered now that you're about to present that particular report and table it in Parliament. Did you take any consideration of the fact that also the churches had come up together through the Hesabika Trust to come with a code of conduct and governance guidelines? Because you talk about corporate governance that is lacking, and now they've come up with a very elaborate report that was launched a few months ago, and I think in August, and they have a very comprehensive way of how they want, self-regulated or self-regulations from the church themselves, getting principles and values that they have enumerated. It's very comprehensive. Also, the rule of law, church leadership and governance of churches, statement of finance and assets as well. All that is tucked away inside there. So in your submission and now in your compiling of report, did the church have any opportunity to actually present this particular conduct, and you also have the benefit of maybe perusing it and seeing how you can actually put it together before your compilation?
This code of conduct came after those mainstream churches had already presented to us. But of course, we have a copy of what they have said. But what I can tell you is even some of the people who are in that launch, I saw their faces and I saw them giving the statement, are some of the big men and big players in the area, in the space of religion. And they have come before our committee. They have told us the same things, and we appreciate their input. So we will consider all that they have said as far as self-regulation is concerned, but we shall also consider what the security agencies have told us. We are in the space of balancing. What's going to work for Kenyans? Balancing between that freedom of worship and self-regulation and so on, that is guaranteed, and balancing public safety concerns. Those two issues, that's what we are grappling with. And this Senate committee, I guarantee you, will come with a very good recommendations, and we shall bring them before the Senate, and the Senate will make decisions. They will amend the report, they will adapt as it is, or they can reject the report. But I'm sure that with the kind of input, including from churches, including from Muslims, including from the Hindus, I think we've done a good job. I'm confident that they will adapt it.
All right, so without being preemptive, of course, before tabling the report, if you may just look back and take one of the overarching issue that you think from the confluence of factors that have been tabled before you, what would be one that you will pinpoint that is affecting, across the different religious persuasions that have come before you?
I think a lot of Kenyans want to feel safe where they go to worship, okay? And safety, not just from attacks by, let's say, riotous mobs or something like that, but they also want safety that what is being given out, churned out as doctrine, whether it be Muslim, Hindu, we've not had a problem. Muslims, we've had issues. Christians, we've had issues with them in the past and recent past. I think the overarching issue that the people of Kenya want is that they need to be guaranteed they can worship, but they also need to be guaranteed that they are consuming something that is not going to hurt them. So the systems of controls need to be put in place so that, yes, go and worship, yes, but are our children, are our people, are our families consuming the correct things? That is the overarching thing. And if they are not, then what is the government doing about it? What are we doing about it as Kenyans? You, the representative of the people, can you help us? I think that is what came in as an issue, a big issue. And we will try to see the recommendation to capture that major concern.
Indeed.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Let's hear from Okogo Mogini before we take a short break, and Dan Mazo briefly. Also, we've had the winding up of NDC. The 60 days are done right now. They had also a presentation of members of the public coming to before them as far as the National Development Committee is concerned. You can tell us briefly what are some of the highlights moving forward? What are we also looking forward to? Is there any referendum in the offing, or maybe just amendment of a constitution? Good to see you.
I mean, it's too early to. First of all, the balanced morning to everybody. It's too early to really say which way the recommendations of NDC will go. Whether it will provoke a referendum or not depends on the very final products. We have just dealt with maybe about 3 issues substantively. The issues of reconstituting IEBC, which outrightly may not require any amendment to the constitution, because the commissioners will remain capped at 9. The current legislation puts them at 7. So the only thing we may have to do is to amend the IEBC Act, which may not require a referendum. The issue of political parties may not require an amendment to the constitution, though from presentations there were a number of Kenyans who raised issues with the provisions of Article 103, especially the clause that talks of a member being deemed to have left his political party to another political party. There was a feeling that the issue of defection needs to be tightened so that we have party discipline and loyalty to parties. But once we retreat, we'll see whether there will be need for us to revisit that article, or we'll just deal with the amendments, if any, to the political parties act. The issue of gender and affirmative action is also still a very hot debate, whether we will need to go back to the constitution to amend the maximum number of seats that are allowed in both the National Assembly at 290 for single member constituency and 47 for county women reps and 12 for nominated women and interest groups like youth, workers. We're going to the Senate also, the numbers are capped at 67. So if we are to look deeply into these issues of gender, maybe it may necessitate us going back to amending the constitution. Same thing with the issue of the prime cabinet secretary. I think the debate on the table is whether we need a prime cabinet secretary or we need a prime minister. So depending on the final product, if you are changing the system of government, maybe that will require a referendum. Same thing with the office of official opposition. As currently the structure of the constitution does not have room for the leader of official position to sit in parliament and play a role. So if you change the functions of parliament, maybe it may necessitate a referendum. But we also have a number of issues remaining. You know, we have not dealt with issues of checks and balances. There are a number of issues that were raised by the judiciary, including a proposal to adjust the number of Supreme Court judges to 9 from the current 7. So I don't know what will be the final recommendation. That will determine from next week when we retreat for the whole week to deliberate. On issues of governance, we have not touched issues dealing with governance. That is still pending.
So the 9 of the judges, you think is a bloated number? It can actually be scaled down to 7?
Pardon?
The 9 judges, the number of the judges.
Yes.
The assessment was it is a bloated number.
Well, they feel that 7 is
an ideal.
Is very restrictive because the quorum is the minimum number you need to sit is 5 according to their own presentation, and then you know the CJ is the chair of Judicial Service Commission, and then there is another judge who also sits in the Judicial Service Commission, and they raised issues that, like, if there is a problem like sickness or somebody is facing a tribunal, the numbers drop down to a bare minimum of 6. If you miss one more, 5. If you miss one more, then you have an issue of quorum. And I think the argument is that the proposal that came from Bomas had proposed a Supreme Court of 9 judges, just like the 9 judges in the Supreme Court of Ghana and the Supreme Court of the US. But I say that's just a proposal. I don't know what will be the end product. That will all be determined after the deliberations that we'll have for the entire of next week. And then finally the issue of, you know, the cost of living. We are yet to tackle that subject. And I think that is the in thing for Kenyans currently. So once we retreat next week and look at all the issues that Kenyans have brought on the table, we'll be able to gauge whether we'll have a referendum or not.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We shall hear from Dan Mazo from the other side of a break. We want to take a short break right now. And when we circle back, we shall broach on that particular issue also of the NDC. We just been enumerated some of the items that were raised during that participation that needs to be brought before they come up with their final summation of the report as well. And we continue to talk on pertinent issues that are